You can take care of the garden in different ways, but sometimes it's worth avoiding some mistakes that have a long-term impact on your yard. It's a Sprouted Seeds YouTube channel. Subscribe and let's get started. 1. Clear-cutting the perennial bed. You may want to remove the dry perennial flowers and plant material in order to make the landscape appear neat and orderly as winter approaches. However, there are numerous justifications for keeping it in place. Stems, leaves, and grasses that are left over provide a layer of defense that helps the underlying plants endure the winter. In addition, leaves from neighboring trees are often collected and held by stems, adding to the winter blanket. Beneficial insects can also find winter refuge in perennial plant material. Birds can find food in perennial seed heads when they are hibernating or preparing to migrate south. 2. Leaving plant debris in the vegetable garden. Vegetable gardens often struggle with diseases and insect pests, in contrast to perennial gardens. It's very helpful to tidy up your vegetable garden so that nothing can overwinter in the plant debris and possibly affect our plants the following year. Moving crops to new locations in the spring is another way to assist. 3. Pruning in fall. One of the worst seasons to break out the pruning shears is in the fall. Blooming woody plants such as hydrangeas, forsythias, viburnums, and lilacs have already begun to set buds for the upcoming year. Hence, any pruning you do now will remove the buds that will eventually become the flowers or fruits of next spring. After you prune some plants, like fruit trees and roses, they will quickly send out new growth. And once you have snowpack or frost, that will expose it to cold damage. 4. Failing to protect trees from wildlife. Bucks rub their antlers on the trunks of young trees from fall to late winter. A tree can be easily girdled by all that rubbing, depriving it of the layers that transport nutrients from the roots to the leaves. To avoid this, pound 3 or 4 posts in the ground around the tree, no more than 18 inches apart, to keep deer from getting their antlers in close enough for a good rub. If you want to prevent hungry rabbits from gnawing through the bark of your young tree, you can also add chicken wire or wrap plastic tubing around the trunk. Just make sure that when there is snow on the ground, it is tall enough to discourage them. 5. Leaving full-size leaves on the lawn. Fallen leaves improve the structure of soil, retain moisture, and provide insulation for roots in garden beds and around tree bases. In addition, it serves as cover for bumblebees that overwinter as well as food for birds and eggs and larvae from beneficial insects such as fireflies, butterflies, and luna moths. These insects help to preserve your environment for the following year. However, it is not a good idea to leave your leaves on turf grass. This will leave gaps that will be quickly filled in by weeds such as spurge, foxtail, purslane, crabgrass, and others. Furthermore, even if you're making an effort to support pollinators by growing flowering plants like clover in your lawn, other plants, like foxtail and purslane, don't have flowers for pollinators. 6. Dividing perennials too soon or too late. Certain perennials grow in clumps, such as purple coneflowers, phlox, oriental poppies, dahlias, and hostas. Their blooming eventually slows down due to overcrowding, and some may even die in the middle. Digging up each clump, carefully separating the roots, and replanting the crowns is all that is required to divide. However, their success depends on choosing the correct weather window, which is after summer's heat has passed but early enough to let new plants establish before winter. Plants must be replanted at least 6 weeks before the first frost. 7. Leave the weeds for the winter. It's easy to think that the new weeds that are emerging in our garden beds will be damaged by winter, but resist giving in. By the end of the season, a lot of weeds that belong to the cool season emerge. They can go from seed to plant to flowering to seed again in an extremely short amount of time because they only have a tiny window. Stated differently, the weeds you see now may die from the cold of winter, but their progeny will survive into the following year and beyond. You should put in the time and effort to get rid of them. If you try to avoid these mistakes, your gardening life will be much easier.